Hello, and a very special welcome to everyone here. I'm Ann Shockett, President of the NFRW, and this is the first edition of this year's NFRW on the Issues. We began this important series just last year, and it was received with such positive reviews, actually rave reviews. We featured our nation's movers and shakers. We discussed the vital topics that affect our lives. So thank you not only for attending, but also for your wonderful feedback and suggestions. We're so pleased to be continuing this important educational series, and it's exclusive to you, our NFRW members. So tonight promises to be another insightful presentation. And as members of the largest grassroots Republican women's organization in the entire United States, we are involved in every issue and in every single aspect of political engagement from the local to the state to the national levels. All issues that affect our nation affect us. So tonight's exciting presentation begins in just a few moments with one of the most influential political leaders in our country, House Republican Whip Steve Scalise of Louisiana. Then be sure to stay on right after his presentation for the Q&A. So I'd like to ask Gina Gore, NFRW's congressional liaison, and also the immediate past president of Louisiana FRW, to introduce our esteemed guest. Gina, would you please do the honors?
I certainly will, and I'm most honored. Good evening, everyone. I am so proud to present to you a true Louisiana hero and a great friend, Minority Whip Steve Scalise. Hey, Steve, we don't get to see each other very much.
Gina, great to see you.
Great to see you. Steve is a native of Jefferson Parish and a lifelong conservative, as one of President Trump's strongest allies in Congress. Yay, he's working to support conservatives across the country and win back that House majority. Steve's greatest joy, though, is being a husband to his lovely wife, Jennifer, and a dad to his two beautiful children, Madison and Harrison. He represents Louisiana's first congressional district, which stretches all across the northern shore of Lake Pontchartrain to the historic New Orleans suburbs and the Mississippi River Delta. He's a great grandson of Italian immigrants. Steve's family came from Sicily as farmers and then eventually opened up a grocery store about 8 blocks from where the Superdome is today. Steve has spent his entire life in Louisiana, graduated from Archbishop Rummel High School, and attended Louisiana State University, go Tigers, where he was in Republicans and student government and earned a degree in computer science. Steve believes in upholding the Constitution, a robust national defense, exercising fiscal discipline, and standing up for pro-life values and promoting common sense energy strategies. Imagine that. He holds an A+ rating from the National Rifle Association and strongly advocates for protecting that Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens. He currently serves as House Republican Whip. We're very proud of that. As the second highest ranking member of House Republican leadership, he worked hand in hand with President Trump and his colleagues to build conservative coalitions and accomplish the Make America Great Again. And now, ladies, as our hero Donald J. Trump introduces him, may I present to you the legend from Louisiana, Congressman Minority Whip Steve Scalise.
Wow. Well, Gina, I've got to take you on the road with me.
Yes,
you got to
you do.
introduce me everywhere I go. Oh my gosh. So good to be with you. So good. I wish we were in person. Y'all know how this crazy year has been. But at least we're here virtually. For the National Federation of Republican Women, I have been so lucky to have had the support of the Louisiana Republican women, the local chapters in my district since I ran for state representative as this crazy young upstart kid that as a conservative wanted to get involved in turning our state from heavy blue in Louisiana, which when I was in the state house, a third of our house was Republican, a third. And almost every statewide elected official was Democrat, to today, where 2/3 of our House and Senate are Republican. and every seat except one in Louisiana is held by a Republican. It works. We have other states we need to turn from blue to red, but everywhere it's been successful, it's been Republican women on the ground doing the hard work. And so I love speaking to Republican women's groups, but for the National Federation of Republican Women to be invited, I am honored. I'm excited about where we are right now. I am scared to death for what these crazy liberals want to do to our country. But I also know that they have woken a sleeping giant. This election, you go back to November, and it's unreal how the media for 4 years, they just destroyed this president every single day. Donald Trump is such a wonderful person, loves this country, ran and gave up, is a billionaire who gave up an enterprise in New York to come and, as you say, make America great again. Because, there were so many people in this country who had just given up on politics, who felt like Washington just didn't care about them, the working men and women. I call them the forgotten men and women of this country. And I got to travel with Donald Trump when he was a candidate for president, and then worked incredibly close with him for the 4 years that he was president, and watched how much he cared about people, watched how he delivered on those promises. One of the reasons I think they hate him the most is because he actually did what he said. In the mold of Ronald Reagan, who was my political idol. Ronald Reagan was the guy who, energized a generation of people who thought they were all Democrats for life, that said, wait a minute, here's a guy who's actually talking about things I care about. And Donald Trump, I think, brought it to a new level. And when you look at what he did, delivering conservative policies, Supreme Court justices, and by the way, my daughter, Madison, who's 13 years old, and my son, Harrison, who's 11 years old, the light of my life, with Jennifer. Both of my kids went to the same middle school in Metairie, Louisiana that Amy Coney Barrett went to. And I've been a big fan of hers from the beginning. Y'all know how great she was, of a pick for the president. But what he did with Gorsuch, with Kavanaugh, putting constitutionalist judges, not activists and radicals, but people who believe in the word of the Constitution, which you say that around here nowadays and they want to throw acid on you. That's what Donald Trump stood up for. He created jobs like we've never seen before by cutting taxes. I got to work very closely with him on that. And it worked, and what does this guy do? They hid this guy in a basement. Joe Biden is now, first day he cancels the Keystone Pipeline, goes after energy jobs, gets us back in the Paris Accord. Do you know there's not one country in the European Union that's in compliance with the Paris Accord? France is not in compliance with the Paris Accord because it's crazy, it's radical, it kills manufacturing. And now Joe Biden signed us back up in the Paris Accord. Donald Trump did so much for our country and for our party, and they hated him the day he took the oath of office. Within days, they filed impeachment proceedings against him. Then the big lie was the Russian hoax and all this conspiracy stuff that was all debunked. And they impeached him anyway for that. And then January 6th. January 6th was a dark day for America. I don't know anybody that condones what happened when people stormed the Capitol. But I'll tell you this. I was very vocal in saying what happened that day, those people that broke into the Capitol, what they did was wrong. But I also said what those people were doing during the summer when they were burning down cities, when they were killing cops. Remember that? When they were beating people in the streets, whether it was Antifa or BLM, that was wrong too. What's interesting is Democrats want to blame everything on Donald Trump, but they didn't say anything negative about what happened during the summer. In fact, a lot of Democrats, including our current vice president, were raising bail money for people who were out there being a part of those mobs that were burning cities down. So, there is a lot of perspective we need to know, because we know as Republicans, unfortunately, we wake up in the mainstream media every day, not only comes after Donald Trump, they come after us too. They want to undermine the values that made this country great. They want to rewrite history and act like unless the government's giving you money, you can't make it on your own. Look, you know what's going on right now here. Pelosi is running the House like the radical leftist she is, and she's further to the left than when Obama was in office, because AOC and the socialists are running the show right now. This week, they're bringing a bill to spend $1.9 trillion. It's hard to fathom that amount of money, but when you look at what they're doing, they're spending money, $350 billion to bail out failed states. California and New York are going to get California is going to get $41 billion in this bill. They just announced they have a $10 billion surplus. So we're going to borrow money from my 13-year-old daughter to give California another 41 billion when they've got a $10 billion surplus. Governor Cuomo in New York, let me show you something. We've been exposing this fraud. This guy, they give him an Emmy Award. He writes a book on leadership. He killed thousands of seniors in nursing homes. I started calling him out back in June. I was asking Cuomo in June to give us the data because I was hearing all these reports that thousands of seniors in nursing homes in New York died for no reason. It should have never died because Cuomo gave an order. And I, by the way, I uncovered this. We got it. We have the document. Cuomo mandated that if you were a senior in a nursing home that got shipped to a hospital because you were COVID positive, he made the hospitals send the COVID positive seniors back to the nursing homes, even if they couldn't isolate them. And thousands of people died because it spread like wildfire. Do you know that over 40% of all COVID deaths in America came from less than 1% of America's population, seniors in nursing homes? And if you just take out seniors in nursing homes in New York, the ones that Cuomo killed, if you just take out the seniors in nursing homes in New York that died from COVID, America would not even be in the top 10 per capita in deaths from COVID. And we mourn every death. But this idea that it was across the border, it was Trump's fault, when the states that followed the guidance that Trump himself gave did really well. You know, you look at Florida, they did well. New York, California, they're shutting everything down. They're killing people, students that aren't in the classrooms. One of the biggest, 10 years from now, they're going to look back and go, one of the biggest dishonest things that you did to hurt America was keeping kids out of the classroom. All the science says, let the kids go back in the classroom and learn. In this bill, Pelosi is going to give $130 billion to schools, and they don't even require them to reopen. Why do you need the money if you're not going to reopen the schools? What are you going to do with that money? We've been pushing to expose all of this stuff, but what y'all are doing on the ground, I love this. I got to see Trump last week. I was in Florida raising money to take back the House, and we're going to win back the House. We're going to fire Nancy Pelosi, and y'all are going to be on the ground, I know, helping us in all the districts we need to flip it. But I was in South Florida, and I got to go visit with Trump at Mar-a-Lago. And let me tell you what, I love this guy. I've never seen him more relaxed. He loves this country. He wants to help us win the House back. And look, he deserves a break from the mess of this place in DC and these people that were so evil and hateful towards him. But he cares a lot and loves this country, and we're going to take it back. We're not going to sit back on our heels. So I know y'all have questions. I want to give y'all the opportunity, but I can't thank you enough for what the Federation of Republican Women do to help us win races all across this country.
And we can't thank you enough for what you do. What you do is so important, and thank you so much. We've all been looking forward to your presentation, and you never disappoint. You shared such essential information with us. Now, we had a record number of questions that were sent to us for you to answer. And if we asked them all, we would be here till tomorrow morning.
Give me the ones that are most asked. I'll try to be on. I'll try to be quick. And by the way, I'm going to show you all the screenshot your camera right now. I want to show you Joe Biden just 2 days ago challenged Republicans who are against this crazy spending bill. He goes, "Oh, what do those Republicans want to cut?" I said, "Mr. President, how much time do you have? My God, 90% of this bill has nothing to do with public health or COVID. You know, they're doing a subway to Silicon Valley. There's money that goes to schools that have nothing to do with schools. They're doing bailouts to union pension funds. Screenshot this one. You want ammunition to tell your friends, you know, Joe Biden says, tell me what you want to cut. I'll cut everything from this bill that has nothing to do with COVID. Instead of a $1.9 trillion bill, it will be a $300 billion bill. That's where I'd start to cut. Not to mention there's over $1 trillion that we already passed when Trump was president that hasn't even been spent, including over $60 billion to reopen schools. That's already passed and hasn't been spent. What would you cut? That.
Absolutely. Now, Gina and I are going to start asking you some of those questions right now on their behalf. So Gina, would you ask the first question, please?
I certainly will. I know you talked about a little bit that we'll be on the ground. Those of us who do the strike force will definitely be on the ground. To those who voted against Trump. But Karen Oldenburg, hi Karen, from Hendersonville, North Carolina, makes a statement. She said, specifically, What can the average American do to help the GOP to stop the madness, socialist agenda of the Biden administration? And when in the world will Congress spend taxpayer money responsibly?
Well, when we get the House back, we will. I can tell you they're not spending it responsibly right now. I just showed you some of the things that they're doing that have nothing to do with COVID, borrowing money from our kids. I whipped against this bill. I'm the whip. I asked all of my Republican colleagues when they were moving the budget to pass this bill, I whipped against it. 0 Republicans voted for it. I am working right now to get 0 Republicans to vote for this spending bill, and we're almost there. So that's one of the things we're doing. What can you do? I think this is a critical question. Think about what Stacey Abrams did. You know, we can complain all day long. I get angry. I break my TV every day if I just threw stuff at the TV when I got mad. I make notes and I'm like, okay, how can we do something about that? We need to restore election integrity. It's a big deal. Gene is from Louisiana. When we were in the deep minority for my early life, all the way up until when I was in the state house, we didn't sit back and go, gee whiz, Democrats just win everything and they steal votes and they steal elect. Do you know that we sent our elections commissioner to jail? The guy that had the job when I was in the state house, we started exposing what he did. And when we exposed it, ultimately, this guy and his dad had the job of elections commissioner in Louisiana. The two of them combined for over 50 years. They stole elections left and right, but we exposed it. And the guy went to jail, and then we cleaned up the office. We moved it into the Secretary of State. And our Secretary of State, by the way, was threatened. Kyle Ardoin, just like the Georgia Secretary of State, was threatened by Stacey Abrams. And she bullied that guy into changing their law, the rules, because the law said this is how elections work: signature verification, picture ID. They're going across the country and trying to get your state's officials to change the rules to water down so they can steal elections, so that they can undermine election integrity. Stand up, support your Secretary of State. If you don't have a good Secretary of State, get a better one who will actually respect your vote. Because if they can steal votes, if they can have people without signatures and picture IDs voting, that undermines election integrity. So we need to be on the ground looking at what your state laws are. It matters a lot. If every state in the nation ran their laws like Louisiana did 50 years ago or 30 or 20 years ago, you would have laughed and said, no way. Today, if you would have ran Pennsylvania's laws and Georgia's laws like we ran them in Louisiana, Donald Trump would have won those states. Because I want everybody who's legally eligible to vote, black, white, Republican, Democrat, I don't care what your party affiliation is. If you're legally eligible to vote, I want you to be able to vote once. That's the big caveat. And so we need to have election integrity. I think that's a big cause that Republican women can champion, and especially in the states where they went around their state's laws. Look, I voted to challenge some of these states that didn't follow their state legislatively set laws, which, by the way, is what the US Constitution says. I thought that document was supposed to mean something. Our founding fathers didn't say states determine how they pick their electoral college members. Do you know what our founding fathers said in the Constitution? State legislatures set the rules. Do you know in a number of these states, Georgia, it was the Secretary of State who went around the legislature. That's against the Constitution. Pennsylvania, their legislature said at 8 p.m. on Tuesday night, you don't accept any more ballots that come in after 8 p.m. because that's when the election's over. Do you know their courts, they found a favorable judge and the court said, we'll just take ballots for days and days later. That's not what the Constitution of the US says. Are we going to get back to rule of law? So if Republican women can be leading voices in their communities, speaking out against the mainstream media who challenges any of us, they call us names like seditionists. If we just say, shouldn't we follow the Constitution in how we run our elections?
Liliana Norcadis of Maryland wants to know that she says that the media is making it their priority to report on the division of the Republican Party. And that's been on everyone's minds. But with Biden, these are her words, with Biden using executive orders instead of passing legislation through Congress with Democrat majority, would you say that there is a division in the Democratic Party that is not being reported to the American public?
Yeah, let me tell you, this is a great point because if you read the papers, all they want to talk about is division within the Republican Party. And look, we've got issues we're sorting through amongst ourselves, and we've had some very candid conversations as House Republicans. We don't all agree on everything either. We had a 4-hour meeting just 2 weeks ago, hashing out some of the differences that we have with each other. And we were honest about it. And we're more unified right now than I've seen us in a long time because of that. But the media, look, if you're Joe Biden, you don't want to be talking about killing the Keystone Pipeline, and he killed over 1 million energy jobs with his order banning permits, or what he's doing with the Paris Accord, or what he's doing with opening up America's border. There's a super spreader event going on at the southern border right now. And by the way, he started up the cages again after he criticized Trump for cages, which were Obama's policies. Biden's doing that again. They don't want you talking about that. They want to talk about Donald Trump and let's have a 5th impeachment. They'll be impeaching Trump a year from now. That's how crazy these people are and how hateful they are. But they want to distract you. Go look at New York. Go look at what's going on in New York right now. I started calling out in April, May, and June of last year when I was hearing about the nursing home scandal. I started calling on Cuomo, and he called me a political hack. I said, man, I know I'm doing something right. I must be close to the fire when he's calling me these kind of names. And sure enough, we are. Now you've got AOC and Mayor de Blasio calling on Cuomo to be investigated. So it shows you, if you expose the rifts, there are a lot of fractions right now within their conference. In the House, a lot of Democrats that aren't socialists, they're liberal. It used to be blue dogs and liberals. And the blue dogs were pro-life, by the way. There's not 2 pro-life Democrats in Congress right now. I've been pushing Ann Wagner from Missouri's bill, the Born Alive Act, that says if a baby's born alive outside the womb, you can't kill it and call it abortion. They're doing that in some states right now. We have a bill to ban that. We can't get a single Democrat to support it. Every Republican's for it. Every Republican, not a single. That's how far left they've moved. But the liberals now are being attacked by the socialists. AOC is running socialists against some of the liberals. She's not going to beat me, but she could beat somebody who's a union liberal Democrat because they're not crazy far left enough. That's going on. It's for real in their party, and the media wants to cover it up. But go look at New York right now. That Assemblyman Kim, who Cuomo threatened the other day, he's an admitted progressive. He's not a moderate. He's not a conservative. He's a liberal progressive, and Cuomo threatened him, and he went to the media and exposed Cuomo because they see blood in the water. They don't want to be associated with Cuomo. They know that guy's going down because he's corrupt, he's dirty, and they don't want to be a part of it. So let the rifts show on their side.
Absolutely. And I'm a New Yorker. I absolutely agree with you. I hear that you have to return in just a couple of moments and you have to leave us early because of a vote coming up. So I just want to ask you one final question. As we end this NFRW on the issue segment, this particular edition, Whip Scalise, do you have any closing thoughts or action items to share with us?
Look, every one of us knows people in our communities. I know them in my district that are conservative and that love the policies of Donald Trump, but they didn't vote for us. They didn't show up or to vote, or they voted for Biden. Maybe, what damage could he do? We all know those people. We've got to work not to call them names, but to go win them back. I will tell you this. I love this country. You love this country. Donald Trump loves this country. We need to win the House back next year, and we need to win the White House back 2 years after that. And we're not going to do it by further dividing. The Democrats are all about division. They pick little groups of people here and little groups of people there and try to divide them against each other. We love what's great about this country. Let's go back and win those people back. They are with us. Innately, this is a center-right nation. It's not a liberal nation. It's not a socialist nation. This country loves freedom. Freedom is under attack right now. There's no better time to contrast what we believe in as conservatives, as Republican women, as a conservative Republican man. People want to be free. They're being oppressed right now in some states, and there's some states that are free. Lo and behold, it's usually the Republican governors that are doing it right and the Democrat governors that are destroying their states. They're destroying these young kids' futures by keeping them out of the classroom because the teachers union is bowing down. There's no better time to talk about school choice. If you're a conservative, talk to your friends that are liberal or moderate and say, you know what? If your school down the street is willing to educate your kids safely and your local school is taking your money and not educating your kid because the union doesn't want to do it, Shouldn't you be able to take that money and go down the street and have school choice? People are open to these ideas now more than ever. So let's take advantage of this crisis to show people and remind people why conservative values actually work for people. We care about the hardworking men and women of this country. And what's great about America, they're trying to tear this country down. They want to change our country to something different. And let's expose it, but expose it by going out to those people who should be with us and they aren't right now. We all know those people, and we're going to win them back. We have to win them back, but we will. And when we do, we grew our base amongst African Americans this cycle. We grew our base amongst Hispanics in this cycle. Let's go win back the folks that used to be with us, but left for whatever reason or a tweet they didn't like. They need to be back with us, and they're going to be. But let's do the work. Y'all do the work every day. Y'all know people in your communities, and you don't sit at home by yourself. You talk to people, and let's remind them what's great about a country. Appeal to that side of people that is patriotic. They don't kneel for the national anthem. That's their party. And we're not going to let our country become that. We're not going to let it become a socialist nation. And they don't want it to either. These people are trying to do it. They're trying to destroy this country, and we won't let them get away with it. Let's go win it back.
Absolutely. Congressman, our federated sisters across the nation, they are inspirations, and your remarks further inspire them to do their work. They are so dedicated to preserving the values and principles of this nation that we truly love. This is what this organization is all about. And I know that with those words, they're going to carry that banner even higher and even further. So thank you so much for
God
your
bless each and
God
every one of
bless
you. Love
you.
y'all. Hope to see y'all in
Thank you,
person
Steve.
next time.
Thank
Gina, good seeing you too.
Good
Y'all
to
take
see you.
care.
Look forward to having you back soon.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, ladies, unfortunately, we've come to the end of NFRW on the issues, and it has been such a distinct pleasure to have you join us. The Congressman, the Whip, Scalise, shared such important and timely insights with us. We are so deeply appreciative. Let's take those words. Let's take action. NFRW provides the calls to action, provides you with all the, not just the inspiration, but the tools to get what we need accomplished. Thank you for all you do. My co-host, Gina Gore, and I want to thank you for joining us and for all you do for our communities, our states, and our nation. Look in your inbox for more announcements for NFRW on the issues and other important training and educational programming. More than ever, we're offering more and expanded training opportunities, educational programming, calls to action. We are so dedicated, as I said before, to preserving our country. Thank you for all you do. Until we meet again in person or virtually, be well and be safe.